So, happy bank holiday, folks. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Book Club video. So today I thought I would recommend some books that I personally have found very useful and interesting. I'm running with the theme of the outdoors, so activities, walking, obviously to go alongside the National Walking Month of May, and also looking at nature and wildlife. So all the books I'm talking about today are essentially guides and very informative. Lots of pictures, maps, facts and sort of details. So yeah, a little bit different from your average novel. Especially I think it's important at this time, during these strange times. I think it's more important to stay connected with the outdoors for both your mental and physical health. So whether you want to walk, cycle, swim, watch wildlife, there's plenty to do on our doorstep, especially in Cornwall. We're extremely lucky. And yeah, there's plenty of research out there saying that being outdoors, being in a natural space, doing activities like wild swimming and walking, they're really, really good for your mental health and resilience. So yeah, check out some of these books that I'm about to discuss, and if you've got any more recommendations or any really good books that you're reading, maybe if you just want to comment on the YouTube video below, just to share ideas with other champions or counsellors that just want a bit of reading inspiration. So the first book that I would recommend is this Wild Swimming Walks book. It's for Dartmoor and South Devon. I don't think there is one specifically for Cornwall, but this is the closest one to it. It's really, really good guide. It's got 28 sort of adventures that you can go on, looking at lakes, rivers, waterfalls, sea caves, anything like that. So what it does is it has some really beautiful pictures and sort of map description. And then it's got directions for where to go on the walk. It also gives you bits of information about the history of the place or any sort of facts. And it also gives you a guide on the different pubs, restaurants and eateries, or any sort of activities in the local area that you can do as well as the walk. Obviously not at the moment during lockdown, but it's really good guide for getting out and exploring local areas, really. So book number 2 that I'm going to discuss is actually a series of books. It's called Wild, and essentially there's Wild series looking at running, camping and swimming spots in the UK. The one I'm discussing today is the running one. It's written by some fell runners called Jen and Sim Benson, and it shows some stunning photography, simple navigation, and it's graded for beginners to challenging, so you can pick depending on your ability. And also it looks at or gives you an indicator of the terrain details and OS map locations, and it's looking at about 150 adventures and trails across Britain, so that's a really good one as well if you want to get out and about and take up running. The third book or guide that I want to recommend is the South West Coast Path complete guide, or it's a comprehensive guide written by the South West Coast Path Association, a charity that looks after and champions the whole of the South West Coast Path, which is the longest national trail, all the way from Minehead to Poole. So it's the whole of the South West Coast Path. What it does is a handy guide. It's broken into 7 sections, but essentially I just picked out a few bits linked to Cornwall, but obviously people will do the whole challenge, and also obviously anyone that's doing that Strava challenge that we're doing for National Walking Month. This is a really handy guide for that. So for instance, you've got this broken down as Porthcawen to Newquay, so you've got really nice illustrations and pictures in here. You've also got at the top of each separate walk, you've got details on the distance of the walk, the difficulty levels that they grade it for, like moderate, easy or difficult, and it also tells you like the elevation as well, because as we all know, Cornwall is super upsy downsy. So yeah, that's that example. Another one, for instance, you've got Newquay, Holywell Bay. So again, it gives you directions and certain pit stops to take in. It also gives you really good information on ferry crossings, any sort of accommodation in the local area, eateries and activities. Again, once we come out of lockdown, it's a really useful tool, but even without that, really good for making your way around the Southwest Coast Path and giving you ideas of exploring new routes in your area. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. So the final book that I'd like to recommend is this book here. It's called The Natural History of the Hedgerows and Ditches, Dykes and Dry Stone Walls, and it's written by one of Britain's greatest naturalists called John Wright. And essentially it details from the beginning, sort of medieval period, what hedgerows and borders were used for. It also explores different bits of the landscape, wildlife, flora and fauna essentially. So for example, you've got lots of pictures in here, so you can actually use it to identify certain species, looking at fungi, algae, wildflowers, sort of insects. So yeah, it's really good, very informative. It looks at the sort of history and the culture of dry stone walls, hedgerows, that sort of thing. For instance, you've got, if you wanted to look at some of the natural wildlife at the moment, you've got look at hedgehogs, certain types of birds. So yeah, although it's very text heavy, it is very informative. So yeah, another one I'd recommend at this time.